Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of WrapUp Podcast. Today, I'm sitting with Ruston. Ruston, for the people who don't know about you, could you briefly introduce yourself and what you guys are building?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Ruston Miles, the founder of Bluefin. Founded the company about 20, well, coming up on 25 years ago, so quarter century. And we are all things payment security, point-to-point encryption. Basically, when it comes to card present or transactions being presented over card present rails, we secure those end to end worldwide. And of course, having been in the business this long, we also do a lot with digital as well for card not present.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for the intro. Today, I would love to discuss agentic payments and agentic commerce. I would love to learn more how you see the market developing, new products, and where do you see the trends overall going in 2026? And my first question would be, how would you explain AI in payments? Is it just automation or is it like bigger than that?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's agentic commerce is really commerce automation is really what it is, right?
All right.
It's sort of like taking headless browser concepts and bringing it to consumers, if you will.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it depends on which platform you use. If you're using ChatGPT, they don't have an agentic browser, but you're up there sort of in their virtual PC, if you will.
Mm,
And ChatGPT is taking your commands and working on its computer, if you will. With
yeah.
Perplexity, they've got the Comet browser where it's actually a Chromium browser, Chrome-based browser, and you go to websites. I go to DoorDash or Instacart for my weekly stuff, and or a birthday party. I'll just throw a list at it, and it'll go out and order everything, and then
Mm,
at the end ask if I want it to click. So it really is automation right now, and that's largely because a lot of the protocols haven't matured as much for inter-agentic. So you've got like right now MCP protocols, model context
yeah.
protocols, and things like this, where I think that's of course where the future is going, where these various agents can communicate to and through each other in order to perfect things, in order to actually have, as we say, true agency. Right now, it's sort of small a, not agentic, in the fact that it really isn't acting as your agent. It's really
Okay.
just acting as an extension of your fingers in automation. But I
Right.
do think that it's coming. And right now, in order for AI in the GPTs and AGI in general to grow as quickly as fast as it could, like anything else, it has to grow a little bit of in a cocoon or in an egg or in a bubble.
Mm,
It's going to have to grow. And that's why you've got sort of these different large AI vendors, and it's kind of all within their paradigm, all within their world. Not too much talking to each other just yet, but it's necessary for it to grow as fast as it is. With the World Wide Web, we really had the internet back to the 60s and 70s with DARPANET and
right.
ARPANET. And then in 94, which is when I started my career, the World Wide Web came out. And it was fast for the time, but if we look back, it was actually pretty darn slow in comparison to how
Hmm.
fast AI is
Hmm.
growing. It was in 2002 that I started Bluefin to take the World Wide Web. So that's 8 years after the World Wide Web came out. Started this company to bring real-time authorization and payments to call centers with the World Wide
Hmm.
Web. So
Hmm.
you think about like how old school is call centers and real-time credit card payments in a contact center, and it still took almost a decade for the World
Okay.
Wide Web to get
Yeah.
to get useful. So what's happening now is those timelines are massively shorter, but we're getting some of that benefit because some of these very large companies are able to build inside of their bubble, right?
Yeah.
But the next step is going to be when they start to communicate to each other, and we have inter-agentic boundary mediation through technologies like point-to-point encryption, like Bluefin has. And these are the things I think that will be that next step towards what people really dream of and think of when they think agentic commerce.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned that those big AI providers, including Google, OpenAI, and Stripe. And today I read a message that Klarna, they also launched their agent commerce protocol. So basically, every big player launching their own agent commerce protocol, as you said, they are doing in their own bubble. Don't you
Mhm.
think this is going to create problems for the merchants? Because what I'm trying to say, like, as a merchant, I have to go now, learn and integrate with each one of these. And you said most probably in the future that these guys will start talking to one another
Mhm.
through end-to-end encryption. First, my first question would be, as a merchant, should I go and learn and integrate each one of these agentic protocols now, or should I better wait for them to start to speaking one another, then go and make the integration with, let's say, aggregators, possibly?
Yeah, it's a philosophical question. It's a good question, and I'm going to answer it from my own experience.
Yes, please.
You know how many web programming languages, how many different web servers, how many different browsers, how many different plugins
Correct.
I've used over the last 30 years? You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
in learning those things that I'll never think of again, probably can hardly remember some of those things, like Netscape and, all that
Mm,
stuff from back in the day and all the different programming languages. Now it's sorted out, right? JavaScript and Ruby and PHP and some of these things and other things have fallen aside. But
yeah.
if you wait till the end till it's all figured out, you won't be a part
Yeah.
of creating it and you won't be able to identify opportunities. So there is some
Okay.
learning that comes from learning. So I think that it's important to participate in the journey so that you can
Mm-hmm.
identify opportunities and learn along with everybody else and get ahead. That's ultimately what we did at Bluefin. Had we
Okay.
waited to see how the World Wide Web sorted itself out, and how World Wide Web was actually going to work with, you can imagine back in the early 2000s to think about the World Wide Web and to think about a credit card machine that was dialing up over a phone, you're like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these two things can't talk to each other. When is that going to happen? Now it's a
Okay.
given. 20 years later after that, or 30 years later, it's a given. It's like it's just how it is. These things all work on the internet and the web. Why would you have dial up? But
Yeah.
but the fact that we were in there and early on those things meant that we were able to participate in the creation of the standard, adopt standards sooner, learn from faulty standards. But right now, we don't have that standard, and you see a race across the industry. Certain processors, certain card brands like Visa and Mastercard, everyone's
Yeah.
trying to step up and use the buzzwords agentic commerce and MCP and these things. And here's, we're going to be the standard for this. I don't think anybody knows exactly how it's going to shake out, but I do know I'm on the PCI board of advisors, which is
Okay.
the Payment Card Industry Security Standards Council, and that
Yeah.
basically governs all of the security standards for all Visa, Mastercard, American Express, Discover,
Mm,
China
mm.
Union Pay to participate as well, JCB, several other card brands. And so one of the things I can be fairly sure it is that
Sure.
between the PCI Council and EMVCo, they will be creating security standards and they will exist. So I'm staying close to that on the security side because I always believe that payments innovation shouldn't outpace payment security innovation by too far.
Mm, mm.
Obviously, innovation has to come before security. There has to be a little bit of risk in there, otherwise you can't go out there and take risks or anything.
Yeah.
But staying close to the standards is kind of where I'm at on it. And then just being checking out all of the new protocols that are coming out, seeing what's going to be the best. But what our goal at Bluefin is to say, look, we know that
Yeah.
agents are going to talk. We know that we're going to be passing credentials, payment credentials, and personal identifiable credentials, and maybe health PHI credentials. We're going to be passing
Yeah.
information through agents. And so that's going to need to be secured. The only way that that's secured, or the best way that that's secured in the real world right now, is through point-to-point encryption. And so I'm pretty sure that point-to-point encryption, as you might say, end-to-end encryption, but point-to-point encryption
Mm.
being a standardized end-to-end encryption, a standard for it, I do believe that that's going to be a big part of agentic and interagentic commerce. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm staying at. But no, it's going to be a while, I think, before it shakes out. But I don't think it'll be 8 years. So
Wow. 8 years.
things happen a lot faster
Okay.
now.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, EMVCo, they already started working on agent commerce protocol security, if I'm not
Good
mistaken,
catch.
if I
Good
remember
catch, Sam.
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read a
I think they
message
announced it
somewhere
like
there.
last week or a couple of weeks ago. I read about it. Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's certainly something. And a lot of the things that I see with EMVCo have towards you've got the EMV chip, you've got the 3D secure, you've got these kinds of elements and things that go towards identity.
Mm.
Who what do you have, who you are, what do you know, these kinds of protections. And it seems like to me the PCI Council things go towards more security. Not
Yeah.
authentication, but like, okay,
Okay.
now you've got this credential, and this credential does something for an EMV chip card if it's a cryptogram, or it does something for 3D secure if it's also a cryptogram in there, same deal. But hey, how do we
Mm.
transmit that thing securely? And so then you got the
Yeah.
PCI Council saying it gets there securely, and then the EMV code talking a little bit about what it does.
Mm.
to de-risk or mitigate risk within that. And so I think that's how the interplay is. But you're right, EMVCo is stepped up for that, and
Yeah.
I'd be my eye on that.
Yeah, if we talk about security and risks, I mean, who do you think will be responsible if the AI makes a mistake? Because as you mentioned, at the moment, I don't see any regulations just there yet. Nobody says like you have to do this and that to be compliant, and your AI needs to act like this or like that. I don't know. So
Mhm.
basically, I'm trying to understand. Okay, my AI did a mistake. It hallucinated, or I don't know, it ordered thousands of shoes instead of 100 that I
Yeah.
wanted to order, right? Who's responsible now? Is it merchant? Is it the AI service provider? Who is that? What do you think?
So we have to talk about we have to differentiate between, security and fraud, or security
Okay.
and sort of risk mitigation, because risk
Right.
becomes much broader, right? So
Yeah.
security tells us that it gets from point A to point B without being exploited or vulnerable
Yeah. Yeah.
or made visible or breached or something like this. And
Yeah.
so we have the same concepts as we look into AI: point to point encryption, tokenization, ultimately
Mm-hmm.
data evaluation, pull the data out of the value out of the data, such that if it gets it wrong and sends it to the wrong place, or holds on to it, or
Mm-hmm.
puts it into a buffer it shouldn't put it into, or does something weird, it's still
Yeah.
devalued. So we still should have a zero trust posture towards really any technology, including AI, but even the World Wide Web. I wouldn't be sending your
Yeah.
credit card information or your personal social security numbers or whatever you have over the web in an unsecure way. And so I think that already
Yeah.
would be the same answer. When it goes to what happens with the data, hey, we have 100% securely delivered your credit card information to a bad guy. So okay, that's bad, but it's secure. But it's bad. So that's really the big difference here, I think, is and that's where you wind up with when it comes to transmission of sensitive data. We can get it there securely, but who it goes to, what other meta attributes, how many shoes in the order, what's the shipping address, these things. Those are all fungible, changeable items. And so that's an important where that's where the next growth, if you will, of the protocols for risk management with an AI come in place, and that just simply
Okay.
doesn't exist right now. Right now, it's more about securing point A to point B, and also I think ultimately this is where the agentic or your agent would really have to grow, because what it's going to start to have to do is get to know you, get to know your intent, and then
Mm.
make
Mm.
decisions on your behalf within a within a within certain boundaries. And
Yeah.
so that part, I think a lot of folks that interact with GPTs or the AIs are probably going there transactionally. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, try to do what I want. Or I'm going to go over here and play around and, research a bunch of fun stuff. But it's going to take time for this thing to get to know you better so it can make those decisions. And it
Yeah.
will, and the models will get better. But there's going to be some fun stories, some funny stories, and maybe some not so funny stories that happen as we start to bridge over this thing. Because we all know, in order for the GPTs and these models to work so fast, they have to guess. They
Yeah.
have to guess. If they
Yeah.
didn't guess, then they would just sit here and say, Sam, how many? Sam, what? Sam, what did you mean this? Did you really mean that? Sam. And it would
Mm.
bug the heck out of you because it would ask you too many questions. So it has to make up some of that so that it can keep this, what we would project as a familial or familiar sort of interaction with it. And so it's going to make mistakes on that front, but it's my
Okay.
responsibility for it not to make those because of insecurity.
Right.
So
Look, if we talk about commerce customer journey flow, not the agentic commerce, but commerce customer journey flow, where do you see at this point AI mostly being implemented? What I mean is it at intent stage? Is it at payment stage? Or at this discovery stage? Where do you see AI being implemented most currently?
yeah, I mean, right now, probably it's discovery. So probably at the extent, probably folks using it as a super search engine or a
Yeah,
comparison engine. I use it
yeah,
like that, of course. It's Christmas time, so everybody's or Hanukkah, whatever. The people are trading gifts, right now. So it's what's happening. So everybody's researching this and what about that,
yeah.
and oh, and there's 17 different models of this, or which laptop, or what's the latest of this. What's also funny about this, in the research and sort of discovery phase for consumers is these models are trained a long time ago. Like,
Yeah.
when I say a long time ago, like months or a year ago. It's a long
Uh,
time in AI world, right? That's a lifetime.
yeah.
So, for example, I'm on an iPhone Air and I'm talking
Okay.
to ChatGPT, and I've got the $200 a month plan. So I've got the super
You
mega
have
plan.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
sitting there and I'm talking to my GPT, and this is after the iPhone Air had come out. They had come out with that new
Okay.
Air version, right? So
Right.
this is a few months ago, whatever this was. And so I'm asking questions about it, and it's like, that doesn't exist. And this is ChatGPT 5. Okay. It's like that doesn't
Yeah,
exist. I'm like,
version.
it exists. I'm talking to you on it. Like, I'm talking to you on this because I use the voice as well. And so then I go
Right.
out and find that, and then he's like, okay, I'll update. And then a couple weeks later, I ask another question that doesn't exist. And
Mhm.
so, like, after that happened 3 times, I'm like, okay, I keep telling you it exists. You keep telling me it doesn't exist.
It
And then
doesn't.
he's like, well, I was trained on a model. And I said, but now we're on 5.1. Now we're on 5.2, as you can see.
2
And it's
now,
still
yeah.
making that. And he's like, well, we're not going to go out and retrain the whole model until 6. And so,
Mm.
we have to, so some of this comparison and research and discovery part for consumers, they're going to have to get faster at that. Because it doesn't just go out to the web when you talk to it. That would take way too long. It goes out to
Mm.
what has already been taught about the web. It will go out the web for certain things that it thinks it needs to, that's very important for a conversation, or if you ask it to, it'll go. But if it's
Yep.
just like sitting there pontificating and thinking and ruminating and doing all of its AI jazz, it's not going out for all these searches. It's
No.
dealing with old information. So I think that is something that they're going to have to get faster cycles for that, or they're going
Yeah.
to have ways that all the vendors can provide updates into the model that it can then MCP, if you will, or get in and get access to data from
Yeah.
vendors and things like this, and from retailers, et cetera, and that kind of thing. It's just silly to me that it's Christmas time almost over here, and folks, and the thing still doesn't know what an iPhone Air is. I'm like, my goodness. And
Alright.
by the way, it's frustrating to me, but it's also like, wow, look how much higher my demands have gotten over the last year for
Right.
AI. So it's like this thing is going, but they'll fix that. So I think the discovery and research phase is how it's probably being used a lot right now. People are dabbling in commerce automation. Certainly, I am. And I don't know
Mm.
if that's because it's my art to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
But I am certainly using it. If I'm going to a conference, I just go to the website for the conference, either grab the data or point it at the data and say, go to my Google Calendar and create all the different sessions and times and who's speaking and where is it
Right.
at. And it'll just, so I'm using it to anything that takes me more than 5 minutes to do with a spreadsheet, or just anything, ordering food, my weekly food, or putting together anything I'm using it for. So I honestly don't know how many folks are using it like that, because
Mm.
I haven't really
Mm.
seen studies on, the penetration of adoption of use of these different tools. But I think that that's probably not the norm. I don't know of anybody in my life that is using it like that. Maybe
Yeah.
in my professional work life, but in my
Yeah.
personal life and all that, I don't really know anybody else that's doing it like that. It
That
feels like the
deeply.
folks in my life are just now figuring out how to tap phones, at the, at a,
Exactly.
which is even a newer thing. Here stateside, it's not new, but the interactions haven't been drawn as much. So I think we're not there yet. It's mostly research, but it's our responsibility to to plumb out, or to be the civil engineers to get this all secure and talking and comfortable, so that when folks do make that switch, it acts as intended.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about agent commerce, agentic payments are part of it because I remember OpenAI and Stripe, they launched a product that said like now you can shop directly inside the OpenAI chat, right? Without going and
Mhm.
you can even make payment using Stripe. But what about wallets? What about alternative payment
Right,
methods?
right.
How do I make payments using those? What do you think? Where are they in this context?
Yeah, and I think within, like within the with the so GPT, ChatGPT, or OpenAI, excuse me, doesn't have an agentic browser yet.
But they launched
As we
one.
talk.
No.
Oh, did they just launch one? Well, then I might be a day or a week
Uh,
late. They've got
Well,
the browser in the sky that he uses, and he goes up there to virtual PC. but it's not like he's going into your browser where you're searching and working in it and he can start working
Okay, then
alongside you.
maybe I'm mistaken because I saw the news that it was also Chromium. I mean, if you think about it, it was
Oh, well,
Chromium
well, look,
actually.
I've been traveling for 2 weeks, that's AI time, right? I should probably go check
Yeah,
into it. But I know
yeah,
for the longest time, maybe it's a very recent one, I'll go check into it. But I think that that model is the agentic browser model is the model that's going to change it all,
okay,
and
okay,
I'm glad that they if that and a new one's coming. If it's here, that's awesome. But, like, the Perplexity comment, for example, because what happened, you're already working in a browser, right?
yeah,
And what's cool about that model is that your browser is already, because it's Chromium, got your Google credentials logged in. It's already got your Google Wallet or your wallets,
yeah,
etc. So when you
mm-hmm,
visit a website and you're checking out, um,
yeah,
you're already relying on the security mechanism of the integration between the browser and the browser wallet, and all that
mm,
the AI is doing is clicking or after you've already authenticated and logged in. So it doesn't have to store your card data. It doesn't have to store your password data. It doesn't have to spend
yeah,
your authentication or credentials or anything. All it's doing is working with a browser that you've already authenticated these tools to. And I think
right,
that is like we talked about, that is commerce automation, but I think that's where it's going to live until we have a strong, and a strong infrastructure of intercommunications and protocols. But yeah, hey, learn something on this. I spend too much time on traditional GPT. I haven't been keeping up with their
no
agentic
worries.
browser, but if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do a great job at it. So
Well, when they made the announcement, like the stock price of Google went down for a moment, like wow, OpenAI is launching their own browser now. But then they disclosed that it's Chromium, then everything went back
right.
up again. So it's basically again
With Perplexity,
Google.
when they announced theirs, didn't they actually go out and say they wanted to buy Chrome? Did you see that
Yeah, they
from
said
Google? They're
that.
for
They
like
said that.
$2 billion, whatever it was, they were going to buy it, and I think that was really a marketing. I think that was kind of just a
Yeah,
fun
and
marketing thing to do to kind of hijack the news cycle. But yeah, you're right. It's all
my
Chromium.
last my last question would be: what should we expect in 2026 from agentic commerce? What one or two products would you highlight?
I mean, with agentic commerce, right now, it's going to have to be getting me to leave my full-time use of
Yeah,
Chrome, really, and to adopt a different browser or to have a Chrome allow them to put their plugins into it. Because
yeah,
I already know the interaction that I use with my agentic browser is great for transactional interactions and
sure,
routine interactions. It's great for it. But I kind of operate in a two-headed system where I'm working in Chrome all day for everything. And then I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I need to order something. Go over here, do that. Come back over here. And so that
exactly.
swivel chair right now is that's gotta change because I am not even because now in my working day, I am taking off my security professional hat.
Yeah,
I am when I'm acting of making decisions of when it can help me. And when the system is always there and helpful, then it can be telling me how it can help in
mm-hmm,
ways that I hadn't
mm-hmm,
thought in order to make my interactions with other websites more convenient. And then those
yeah,
websites, say, oh, wow, we're going to lean into that because Ruston is ordering more, has fewer customer service interactions on the phone or email. And all of those
yeah,
things start to happen as it becomes a unified experience within my
mm-hmm,
primary browser. Right now, it's a add-on, it's something that I do if I want to order something or if I feel that I need to save some time. And so that those have to be integrated. Right now, that's a walled garden thing where Google doesn't want to let them in, and so they have to use Chromium, and so you have this bifurcated
exactly.
experience. And so that to me, that whole thing must go away, or they must figure that out if this is going to make to its next piece. So really,
Okay,
that's not saying anything too you know foundationally like, oh, this is something brand new innovation, but really it's an adoption curve that needs to happen that's being held up between big companies doing this.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's
But
going to change in the next year.
right, Boston, pleasure speaking to you. Learn so much about agentic commerce. I hope this conversation will be helpful to my audience too. And thank you for accepting my invite once again.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, Sam, and appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much.